Okay, I think we're live. We're going to go check it. We're going to
Okay.
make sure that we are live.
Live from alive.
I'm going to refresh. Let's see. Okay, okay, it is true. We are live from New York. I'm Billy Walsh.
And Carol Mikowski. Hi.
Great to be here. We're here tonight. We're still in the Law of Success. This is a big book. And we are on, according to our book, it's called Lesson 10. I don't want to confuse everybody. I noticed some of the books call this Lesson 11, I think.
Yeah.
So it depends on version of the book. I know my audio book calls it Lesson 11, but it's accurate thought. So it's either number 10 in your book or audio book, or number 11. For us, it's 10, accurate thought. And I had to say that because I needed to be accurate tonight. You see, that's what the chapter must have done to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, you're going to start us off, Carol?
Yeah, I'm going to say that I'm going to call it Lesson 10 because that's what my book says, which puts us at 2/3 of the way through the book now. There are 5 chapters left after this, and we are talking about, as you said, accurate thought. Now, our dear friend Napoleon describes describes accurate thought as being put into practice by making sure that you separate fact from information. Information can be fact or might not be fact. It can come from all sorts of sources and needs to be filtered to determine if indeed it is fact and accurate. Now, he also says that there are 2 kinds of facts. There's important facts and there's relevant facts. Those are both the same. He says there's important, relevant facts and there's irrelevant facts. Now, of course, the irrelevant facts are not as important as the relevant facts are because they don't get you that quickly towards your definite chief aim. And the other point he makes is to make sure you take a look at your source in evaluating whether something is fact or just information. Okay, because it might be coming from a newspaper or politics or CNN or somebody who's not truly trustworthy, in which case you might want to look very closely at the information before you accept it. Excuse me a minute. Gotta get a drink of water. Go ahead, pick it up for a minute.
Well, first of all, I'm laughing because you said natural thought. You know, it was a so-called mistake, and I thought, when you get into this book, and if you get into the theory in this, because this chapter is a fascinating chapter.
Oh my God, yes.
I would actually call it natural thought, so I don't know if that was so much of a mistake as you think it was.
Yeah.
And this portion you're talking about turned me off completely. It's only the first couple of pages because he got into facts, and I was like annoyed. I was like, Napoleon, all these chapters, and I loved you. Now you're pissing me off because you know how I feel about facts. You know, you might all not know, but Carol knows. And that is, you know what? Anybody can go gather facts to prove something that they want to prove. So I don't know how factual facts are.
Well, maybe it's a matter of semantics, though, Ellie, because I think that's exactly his point, that anybody can gather information to prove something. Now, he would call that not fact.
You're right. So as I continued to read, right, he started to go. So I don't like the word facts. Okay, I really don't. But you know, because it's a perception. Facts are a perception. You know, again, if he was here today, I promise you, I know, just by especially after reading this chapter. Oh my God, this chapter is deep. He would agree with me. He would agree with me. But I think you have to put it out there as it was put out there. You know, somebody's going to say to me, oh, come on, Ellie, it's a fact that if you drive this way and that way, if you're going to, on a map, and I would go, yeah, I don't know. I don't like the word fact. So, me, right away, my back went up, and then I relaxed as I continued to read it.
Right, but we also know during the last elections, right? I was very much into the news at that point. I haven't looked at news in eons, and I'm very glad I don't, because I feel much better without it. But back in those days at the last election, people on the street, people in the store, even friends, would spout out stuff that you knew damn well was not accurate. And they would just base the whole projection of, who was right and who was wrong based on a bunch of nonsense that came from newspapers or CNN or Fox or whatever. So I think that's what Napoleon's talking about.
And so I laughed because in this part is where he talked about, the they say.
Right, exactly.
Getting in, they said this and they said that. And if you're living, so it's true. So, I mean, you have to go further into this to really understand why he's doing that, I believe, because this chapter is really about you discerning and stepping into what he calls infinite intelligence. And so that, I used to remember when people would do that, they say, even my mother would say, oh, they say, or they're all wearing. Who the hell is they, I would say. Who the hell are they? Where are they? I don't give a crap.
Steinway.
I don't give a crap, right? I don't give a crap what they say. I don't, as far as fashion or whatever, and I never did. That actually annoyed me. As a matter of fact, I might have went a little more out of the box, which was good for me, because they said to do it this way. So I found that they say, I remember how that would irk me,
right,
since I'm young. So,
well, his point is that we take in information, and through auto-suggestion, we feed the information and accept some of it, and then it becomes part of our subconscious, which then translates into our actions and behaviors in our life and lifestyle. So his point is to be very, very, very careful and judicious about what kind of information we take in, because that's going to determine our life.
Amen.
And our movement toward success, toward our definite chief aim, but life in general as well.
I'm amazed. This book was written 86 years ago, and I'm amazed at how much we think we're so progressed, and he's writing about it. We read all these different authors that are talking about what he talks about in the whole book, and in this chapter hugely, okay? And I mean, they knew it 86 years ago. Here's what really stands out for me. I'm playing with this. This is a difficult book to read. I think it is. It's sometimes overwhelming. Maybe because it's just the size of it. Maybe they actually now sell it in 3 volumes. They have it broken out, and that might actually be easier, because in your brain at least you finished one of them. But carrying this thing around, okay, and thinking, am I ever getting to the end of it, is huge. So the amazing thing with this is the information that he knew. So now you know that these people that, because he was interviewing and working and studying, and he worked with doctors, and he worked with psychologists, and he worked with very successful people. They knew this. I hope somebody gets that, what I just said. Okay? If you think law of attraction, this man talks about law of attraction so much. Infinite intelligence, he really talks about it in this chapter. If you think that's a woo-woo, that's that they say. That goes out there in the media, that stuff is woo-woo. All right? 86 years ago, this man was writing about that stuff because because of the successes of people who utilize this information. That is huge.
Whoa, you just gave me goosebumps with that, right? Because I realize that there's probably a concerted effort to block people from this this information. I mean, it might not be that blatant, but on some level, I'm sure that.
I don't know if it's concerted, but I mean, we do know, we've heard people talk about just the book Think and Grow Rich, that the first draft that he wrote did not go out because he used the word vibration too many times, because apparently the word vibration is in that book.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually surprised somebody published this one.
Yeah, I know. To me, it's loaded with vibration, law of attraction.
This one is based
intelligence, thoughts in the ether, everything.
Right. Yes. Telepathy. He really gets into all of this stuff. I am shocked that it did get published, and I mean, maybe they just felt as though it was never going to go anywhere, And so I don't know how he got it published. I would like to look further into his history of this.
Yeah.
So because just if you get anything out of all these times we do these videos, okay, this information that today, even Wayne Dyer, years ago when I was reading his stuff, there were people who called him woo-woo, okay? And then when Law of Attraction came out, The Secret and Abraham Hicks, and oh my God, people go, this is woo-woo. This man talks about that stuff and more. And more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the big ticket here is, so what? Somebody 86 years ago wrote about it. No. He was writing about it from experience, from dealing with doctors and psychologists and therapists, and from dealing with successful people, finding out how they got where they got when they, okay? And this is what he came up with, this book. So, like, get rid of that, and they've been saying all along this stuff is woo-woo. So you better, whatever, you do what you want to do, but I think you ought to take heed to that, okay?
Well, this particular chapter, Napoleon himself recommends reading it 4 times at weekly intervals. He's that specific about it. I can easily see reading this chapter 4 times. It's a long chapter, but it is full of information. And he himself says that people will be able to take it in at different levels, and some people possibly not at all, at least not at this time. Because he talks about, connecting up with infinite intelligence, all that is, and how that indeed opens doors for us and can get fed into our subconscious and therefore eventually into our behaviors and our life. All that infinite wisdom, information, infinite intelligence, and he just keeps repeating that over and over and over again in different ways.
Right.
And as I said, he says some people will accept this, some people will not, some people will understand it, some people will not, and some people will at some level, but not entirely. So, I mean, I don't know, it blows your mind. It really does.
It does, and of course he goes through all the previous chapters when he does that for every chapter, because each one does hinge on the other. And he says here, I have been giving you, definitions in different ways all along the way. In other words, I've been leading you here so that I wouldn't blow your mind. He doesn't say that, but I do, so that you can get it. Here's what I thought was really great. One of the things, I just wrote down like some points because there is so much in this chapter. A wish is not a desire.
Right.
So many people that, they go, I'm not getting the stuff I want. I've always been wishing, and a wish is not a desire. And for a desire to come through, okay, and again, now he talks about, because it has to go, I talk about this all the time, what's in your mindset map, right? for that desire to be planted in your subconscious, you need to hold on to it, not just for a few days. I loved when he said that, because this is what I find so many people do. They'll step up to the plate of, okay, it's not a wish, it's a desire. At least they say it is. They write it out. They read it here. They read it there. He's saying 3 times a day, and then 5 days later, they only grab it here and there. And so you've not implanted that enough. Now the one thing that they don't talk about in here, and so I do think we've come a little further, is realizing that that we do have that mindset, that mindset map. So that is why it takes longer for certain things. Because if you have strong held beliefs, and lots of times you're not even aware of what they are, but they're there, and you can tell. If you can get good at telling when you're a student of this, okay, and you're paying attention, it takes longer to rewire, that neuroplasticity, to rewire that map that you have. It takes a little longer. It's not that it's not happening. People do it for 7 days. They go, oh, crap, it's not happening. It's like, oh, my God. You were this close, okay, and you threw it up in the air again.
Well, he's a huge, huge component of, I just lost the word I wanted to say. At any rate, he hugely endorses writing everything down, writing it, because it's just more of a commitment than just wishing, even desire. If you write it down, it strengthens it, it solidifies it, concretizes it, and then he wants you to read it. Everything that you write down, your definite chief aim, your desires, whatever, at least twice a day, if not more. Sometimes he says 5 times a day.
Right. And the other thing I was just reading in my notes, I thought was so cool, is in this chapter he talks so much about meditation. Again, this is the stuff people call woo-woo. This man, okay, who was interviewing and learning from all these successful people, he talks about meditation. But for years they say that's woo-woo.
Yeah.
You better cut that. I'm not talking about a conspiracy. I don't got time. I don't give a crap. I don't give a crap if it was done on purpose or not. I don't care. Here's the deal, okay? That's a hint that, first of all, you've been listening to what they said. If you're thinking this, oh, that stuff's woo-woo, because they've been saying it. And very, very highly successful people did this stuff. And today, the people that we know, the very successful people, when you just speak to them and you just really need to watch them, you are aware of, oh, that this is the kind of stuff they do.
Well, he goes into another more specific thing also in this chapter and spends quite a little time on this. I myself, I'm still trying to put together, and I've read this chapter once, I've gleaned over it a second time, and I have listened to it a third time, and still I haven't got it entirely set in my mind. But he talks about thought as being the highest form of energy, number one. He also says thought is the only thing that we can totally control, absolutely control. And then, I'm trying to put this together. He also says this, I love this concept. He talks about the human body as being plural because it's made up of billions of cells. And our thoughts control these cells. And then he talks quite a bit about how, I think he chooses 75%, but whatever, of illnesses can be cured or turned around by changing our thoughts. And he gave some examples of how he himself had changed 2 people who were bedridden, one of whom was pretty darn close to death's door, and he just, literally talked her out of it.
Well, that was the doctor, Dr. Rose, who did that.
Oh, yeah. I'm
which
sorry.
is
Right.
amazing. Okay, back then, and
It
Dr.
wasn't
Rose
easy back in
realized.
those days.
Okay, I think it was
Yeah.
Dr. Rose was his name.
Yep. You're right. You're right.
That's yeah. I know. And they said, you know, and he says 75%, you know, and I laugh because I'm like, yeah, 100%. But whatever. People don't like hearing that. People don't like hearing that. But even then, yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's because of information that people have taken in that was not accurate, that have come from authorities that you would think would be accurate, but it wasn't accurate information. They took it in, they accepted it, it became part of their being, they believed it, and then acted upon it and nearly croaked.
So I have to go to that example that I just did the video on, because believing it, you know, and I was on that call last week, and Dave Wood was talking about, you know, we believe it's hard, and what if you believed something was easy, you know, and that's when I realized that I still had beliefs that certain things were hard, you know, and so, you know, you're always progressing here, you're always on the journey. It's like, oh crap, you know, and then realized, okay, that, you know, this thing that you believed was hard, it was actually easy living that being hard because you believed it.
Yeah. It was an auto acceptance.
Everybody's going to get that at first. That's right. It was easy living the hard because of the belief. So Napoleon would, Abraham, I was going to call him Napoleon, would say, you know, you've got to do auto-suggestion. And I would say the same thing, except I would say it as you need to shift it. You know, you have to start getting aware. And so what it's really about is awareness. And he talks about, especially a beginner is probably going to think this chapter's woo-woo. He didn't say it that way, but they ain't going to get it, you know. And it's true. So the newer you are to this, the more you have to just take it in and, you know, and know and believe me or Carol or Napoleon even. No, you don't got to. But experiment with it. Don't just say that's woo-woo crap, right? But gee, I'm gonna check this out.
Right, right. And he talks many times throughout the book about you know, your definite chief aim and imagining it and believing in it. And you know, interesting. You said you heard Dave Wood and you talked about what the video that you just did based on what he said last week. But I've been reading a book also. Excuse me. Oh no, pardon me. Your Life is Waiting. Lynn Grabhorn. And I mean, I knew this. I've heard it for 10 years from Abraham. I've read it. Wayne Dyer. You know, you hear it. But this time, for some reason, it finally hit me that she says you have to feel your way into it. It's emotional. Right. Now, I mean, how many times have I heard Abraham say that? But it just...
Yeah, here's the deal with that, okay? Years ago, people didn't say that, and, you know, they said just keep thinking it and saying it and setting it. And will it work that way? Well, eventually, well, it will and it won't, okay? If it does, it's because you implanted it so much that you felt it. Okay? But it's the longer route.
Yeah.
If you're doing what you're saying. So now if you're taking this information and then take the information, because we do know a little more today about how the mind works and how we work, okay? So you're taking that information of realizing and saying, oh, you know, I do this one all the time when I'm in groups, right? People say, you know, I want to be a millionaire. And if you got $3.40 in your pocket, you know, and you're saying, I'm a millionaire, your brain is saying, you're a damn ass. All right? You got $3.42 in your pocket. What are you, stupid? So, and so it feels really uncomfortable to you. You got to maybe go to a thousandaire. You know, okay, I'm in the process, and that those are magical words. If anybody's catching that, I'm in the process. I'm in the process of becoming 1,000 Oh, all right. My brain is still arguing, but not as bad. How does that feel? That feels attainable. See, that's huge. Because if you can do that, you're right. So it's by the feeling. If that feels attainable, and I set that, you know what? Millionaire is going to start to feel attainable. So it's paying attention, absolutely, to how you feel. So he doesn't 100% get that in here. So we have progressed 86 years later. I don't know if we progressed that much, though.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to go back. I said this in one of the earlier videos that we did, but one of our mentors, who's a multimillionaire at this point, said that while he was on his journey and at the very beginning of it, he knew what he wanted. He wanted a beautiful home for himself and his children, and he wanted to be able to provide for them in opulence and comfort. So what he used to do every single night is he would get in his car and he would drive over to the ritzy neighborhood in town and just go up and down the streets and look at the houses and envision himself in there and feel the ambiance of what it was like to be in that area. And you know what, I guess he must have observed some people going in and out of their houses or whatever, and you know what they look like. And every night he did this, every night, and bingo. I mean, today he lives in one of those houses. So.
Right. And when we teach that, and we don't call it a definite chief aim, but when we teach setting out your desire, not your wish, your desire, your intention, whatever, that to sit with it and to bring all your senses into it. Feel it, smell it. What do you so envision it? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? How does it feel? If you can do that, then you can implant that. That implants much quicker. You know, and that's that idea of your brain doesn't know the difference between a real event or a highly visualized event. We could do the thing with the lemon here right now. Everybody pucker up. You really can. And that, you know that with a nightmare. When you wake up and you're jolted and you're thinking, oh my God, somebody was chasing me and I was laying here in bed. You know, but your heart is pounding or you're sweating or you're crying.
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so-called real. Of course, we could really get in a conversation with that, but we won't. One of the other things he said I had to write down, because you hear people say this today, and I say this, you say this, but, you know, here he was 86 years ago saying it. Conduct yourself in the same fashion as if you were already in possession of your definite chief purpose.
Yeah. He's talking about the behavior, and I'm adding on the feeling that goes with it.
Well, I think if you're conducting yourself, you've got the feeling within there. But
yeah, probably.
Pointing that out is really important. Because if you're feeling like, you've got to find your adjustments in that. Instead of spurting this out, I would say the quicker, easier path is make your adjustments. You know, and sometimes your adjustments is just realizing, oh, I've been thinking it was hard, and why don't I just shift and think it's easy?
It's easy.
Because it was easy living the hard.
That was easy.
That was good. It was easy living the hard when I believed it was hard. And I have a button too.
That was easy.
So, I remember one of the female gurus of spirituality there. I can't remember which one it was. I believe she was on that tape that Louise Hay did. You Can Heal Your Life, I guess was the name of it. Anyway, she was talking about her family did not have a heck of a lot of money, and their car was just about ready to drop dead. And her father had a vision. God knows, I mean, it certainly would not be my choice, but he wanted a brown station wagon and a particular one. I won't mention the kind because I might offend somebody, but it wouldn't be my choice. But that's what he wanted. Every evening, he would gather the family together, and they would talk about this car, you know, what it's like, what it smells like, the new car smell, what it would feel like to to sit in the car, what it'd be like to drive it, how the doors are going to sound when you open and close them, and bingo, I don't know, I can't remember how long it took, but not very long. They had that brown station wagon.
I remember.
I mean, it's magical. It sounds and magical, but it really isn't.
So well, it isn't. And people knew it 86 years ago. So wait a minute. So he keeps talking in this chapter about the secret. What does he call it? The secret doorway.
Yeah. Right. The secret doorway. Yep.
It tells you what the secret doorway is. Do you know what it is? I'm asking you.
Oh, me?
Yes. Well, who the heck did you think? Well, I'm asking all of you.
Oh, that's what I thought you were asking. Yeah. Well, I interpret it as connection with infinite intelligence.
Yeah, connection. That I think when he calls it and he talks about infinite, that's the way I caught it. Was that just there's a point beyond belief, and there's a
Yeah, you're stepping. You're right. Stepping into
over the
a new realm where you've never, like the Twilight Zone, where you've never been before.
A knowing, and of who you really are and power that you really hold, and what this is really all about. And some of you are now calling us woo-woo. So, but if you've been. And he talks about being a student of this. Like he's saying, if you want to be successful in business and all, you don't need to be a student of this. But a lot, some people are going to want to go further with it. And I had gone further with it and then found this, So because I keep thinking now, why did I hate that Think and Grow Rich? I hated that book. I don't just dislike it, folks. I hated it. So I don't know. I might go back and reread it and see.
Yeah.
Because I know you had positive feelings for it after a while.
Not the first time around either. I didn't even finish it. I almost threw it away.
So that's an interesting.
You know what I think some of it is? I think some of it's like that psycho-cybernetics where you're stretching the rubber band a little too far beyond and snaps.
I do realize that there's no way I was in a mindset that I even.
Nor was I.
I wanted to believe that I could be successful, but I didn't. Now I caught your cough. It's coming over here from the thing. I just wanted to see. So, excuse me, next week is lesson 11.
Concentration.
Concentration. And he says this is another woo-woo one. He didn't say it like that, but.
Oh my God. That just made me think. If I remember correctly, I'm going way back, many, many moons ago when I was a kid. My parents used to watch this show, black and white television, a mind reader, and I think the name of the show was Concentration. I don't know.
I thought there was a game. I thought Concentration was a game.
Yeah, no, that's more recent.
Oh, all right. I don't know the one you're
Much more recent. This, I'm going back a long time.
All right, cool. Okay, so we will be back next Monday. If you've got any questions, comments, oh my God, I never even checked on the website at all today. See, I'm not good at multitasking, and I'm telling you what, your brain was not made to multitask. Now this silly thing is going to start. I don't see any questions here now, so let me turn this off. So we will be back next Monday.
Yep.
Concentration.
Yep.
Okay. Till then, I hope you have accurate thought. Read this chapter. It's a good one.
Be careful what you accept into your brain.
Cool. Bye.
Bye-bye now.